Hey, what's going on, Game Leapers? This is Eeks, and in today's video, we're going to be covering the 12-19 tier list, and these are based on the changes that got released on Twitter today and yesterday. So to make sure you know who the best and worst champions are going to be for each role in the game, make sure you stick around for the whole video. But just before we do get into the video, one thing you guys have to do before you get into your next game is to download the Porofessor app linked in the description, because it allows you to quickly import the best room page used from the best players in the world on the champion you're picking. You don't have to make the room page, just one click of a button and bang, you're ready to go. But that's not all, because the app also allows you to scout your opponents, and the app will give you their stats, how well they play their champion, so you can know more about your opponent than they know about themselves. And the app also gives you an in-game overlay, so you can compare your CS and your kill participation to your rank or even challenger players like Faker. And there's a reason why 3 million people have downloaded this free application, guys. It's because it works. So get around it in Season 12. Those links are in the description. Now, of course, we'll start by talking about the top lane tier list, and there is a new addition into the broken tier. So from 12-18, Aatrox, Darius, and Set, they roll over to 12-19, continuing to be the best. But we also have Garen here, who's actually getting buffed in 12-19. So your Judgment, your E, which is where you spin around like a Beyblade, this is what you're maxing first. What's happening is that this ability is scaling more off your critical strike chance. So for Garen, because you go Mortal Reminder as your second major item, and you can consider going something late game with like Infinity Edge and maybe another crit item, you actually deal a ton of damage. And because Garen is so prolific and actually a very strong champion, according to the actual stat websites, I think this is going to be really broken and just obnoxious to play against. So that's why Garen has moved up into broken. Now, apart from this, what about some other champions? Well, Shyvana is actually an interesting top laner. This is why she is in underrated, because she's getting buffed in 12-19. So the fact that you have more attack damage scaling in your E now, this means that if you are maybe going more bruiser and fightery Shyvana in the top lane, it could be better than going the Frostfire route, which is what most people are going at the moment. So this could be a low-key broken setup. Now, we also have Malphite and Kennen in underrated as well. The reason being is because they're also getting buffed in 12-19. So for Malphite, you're getting more AP in your W and your ultimate, and this is nice for Malphite, of course, especially if you are actually building some sort of magic damage item. So most of the time, you're probably going to get Sunfire Aegis or Frostfire Gauntlet, but if you were to fit like a Demonic Embrace in your kit, all of the extra HP you have from your items will get converted into AP, and this will also get transferred into your buff W and ultimate. So this is quite intriguing for Rock Solid. And for Kennen, well, let's just say your attack speed from your E is just going to be more consistent, so it's kind of like a nice little quality of life buff. And because of the recent buffs to Kennen as well, this is why Kennen is residing in the 12-19 underrated top lane champions. Now, on top of these, we also have Nasus, who's getting some really nice buffs, and honestly, I could have easily put Nasus in the broken tier. So for Nasus, your Wither is actually going to reduce the attack speed of your opponent even more. So this is really important for top lane, of course, because lots of champions, if they're not building attack speed anyway, will probably have it in their runes to some extent. So this will be super impactful, and also, probably more impactful, your ultimate, the cooldown is decreasing. And because you'll be building ability haste from your items, whether it's from Divine Sunderer, whether it's from Frozen Heart, think about Frozen Heart with the extra attack speed slow you have, this is going to be huge for Susan. That's why he's in S tier. Just make sure, guys, if you are playing in the top lane, you can see in the Rise tier we have Blitzcrank and Rise himself. The reason Blitzcrank is here is because he's getting buffed in 12-19, and this might make him actually viable for top lane. But the issue here is that, well, no one knows how good or bad he's going to be, and because he will probably just be better as a support still, I've just given him a cheeky mention, that's all. Now, Tahm Kench is another champion who's getting buffed, and maybe you can actually make use of these buffs maybe a bit more than someone like Malphite, for example. So for Tahm Kench, you're getting more AP in your kit now. So this might mean that if you are going Demonic Embrace, right, pair this with Frostfire Gauntlet, and because the mythic passive from Frostfire will actually work really nicely with Demonic Embrace's passive, this will actually make use of the AP buffs that Tahm is receiving. But will he become really busted because of these? Probably not. That's why he's staying in B tier. So that was the top lane tier list, guys, for 12-19. Now moving on to the mid lane, just like the top lane, we have a bit of a change in who is going to be broken. So Vex and Zed, these are staying from 12-18, but we have two new additions, these being Fizz and Syndra. Now the first of these, Fizz. So for Fizz, the actual damage in your E is going up huge, because you're maxing this first as such an important ability, and your E's mana cost is also going down. This could be huge for Fizz because at the moment you have to go mana mythic, and Fizz players, let's be honest, would much rather go something like Rocket Belt or Night Harvester, so this might open up the actual like assassin damage mythics. And if that is the case, if you see a Fizz locked in, it's GG. Now the other champion here, this being Syndra, is receiving some huge changes. So your passive is getting changed, all of your abilities are getting changed, but there are a few key details that just push Syndra into being so broken. So So the first of these is the fact that your E, so your scatter of the week, the actual radius of your E is increasing, and this goes up to 90 degrees once you actually hit the passive stack mark. Now on top of this, your Q, so your dark sphere, you can get 2 charges of these once you have 40 splinters, which is your new passive. And these two will be separated by a 1-second cooldown. So you can Q, wait 1 second, use another Q. So this could be really devastating, especially in team fights, and if you can synergize your Qs with your teammate's CC. It sounds very scary, but the most cooked change of all time is the Syndra's ultimate in 12.19, and I doubt this will stay the same, so it might change until the patch actually does get released. But at the moment, it says that Syndra's ultimate, your unleashed power, will execute champions when they have less than 15% of their max HP. It will just kill them, just one-shot them. So if that doesn't make Syndra broken, I don't know what does. There are other champions on this list just because Fizz and Syndra will be more broken than Kassadin. Kassadin has moved down from broken to S tier, but still very good. Now, as far as underrated goes, there are a bunch of champions here, and we will elaborate on why these are underrated in a future video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. We also can see Varus in C tier. This is AP Varus, of course, but do be careful about picking him in the mid lane. If you get ganked, you're probably just going to be a free kill, and you have to play perfectly to really make this champion in the mid lane work. And you can see alongside Varus, we have Malphite because he's getting buffed. Maybe you can play him in the mid lane because of the extra AP you have, so he becomes slightly more viable, especially in lower elos. But apart from that, guys, not much is really changing in the mid lane. Just make sure you don't play Azir, Rakan, and Ryze. And if you're wondering why Rakan is here, that's because Rakan, like lots of other AP champions, is getting more AP in his kit. So maybe Rakan mid, I know it's been a thing in the past, but has it really been a thing? Well, it might become something in 12.19, so again, a bit like Blitzcrank, I'm just throwing Rakan in there just to interest you at the moment. Now, heading into the jungle role, the broken champions, Bel'Veth, Fiddlesticks, and Master Yi. This has not changed for ages, and honestly, guys, because there are no nerfs to these champions, they have to be the most broken for 12.19 as well. Now, as far as other champions, what's changed? Well, Shyvana has moved up to S tier because you're clear, your scaling is going to be better, and because hopefully you can actually go Bruiser and Fighter now because of the extra AD in your kit. This brings Shiv in the jungle, who does perform very well in the majority of elos, back into the picture. Now, as far as underrated champions, we have Maokai in the jungle, who got buffed in 12.18 for the jungle, and in 12.19, honestly looks to be doing well as well because of the extra damage you have in your Q to jungle monsters, and because of the CC you bring in utility. Most people as well, if you think about it, in the mid and top lanes are going to pick high damage dealers. Maokai is just a great complement to them. Now, we also have Nunu, so you're getting more AP in your ultimate. This is going up to 300% if you can channel it long enough. So if you are going AP Nunu, and respect you if you are, this makes Nunu's absolute zero. Well, if he channels this for the full duration, all of your team is going to go boom. Now, we also have Olaf here. Now, Olaf is not getting changed, but honestly, I don't think he's picked enough in the jungle role. And I think he's really good, obviously, when the enemy team has lots of CC, because his ultimate counters so many things in the game, but people just don't play the champion enough. Now, what about the rest of the tier list? Well, we can see, guys, that Ras, so Red Kayn, has moved all the way down to C tier. This champion, because of the passive nerf from last patch, has been absolutely gutted. And a bit like Hecarim as well, because of the nerfs in 12.18, this champion has been gutted too. I know lots of champions hate playing against Hecarim and ban him. Stop banning him, guys. These junglers as well will just full clear. You'll have so many opportunities to beat them in the early game. And like I said, because of the nerfs, innately, Hecarim is just not good anymore, so don't worry about banning him. And that's kind of the same for Udyr as well. Because of the ultimate nerfs, both in the top lane and in the jungle, the deer has just become worse. So even if you are maxing your Q, which is what Riot tried to encourage you to do anyway, in 12.18, it's just proven not to really be as good. And this is in every single elo as well. And those of you who are really paying attention to the tier list, you will notice that one champion has moved up from C tier, this being Lee Sin. The reason Lee has moved up is because of the buffs. So the buff to Lee Sin's Safeguard, this has actually increased his win rate by quite a bit. And in higher reloads, this has seen him be classified as an A tier champion, so Lee Sin sneaks his way into the B tier. Just please make sure, guys, if you are playing in the jungle, obviously don't pick Ryze. Now, moving down to the bot lane, we do have a couple of champions, guys, getting changed in 12.19, and the first of these is Kai'Sa, who is in the broken tier. So alongside Draven, Miss Fortune still doing well, despite the nerfs, and Samira, Kai'Sa has made it into the top tier. Reason being is because you're getting more damage in 12.19. Now, honestly, I don't really know if Kai'Sa needed this. Very strong champion, to be honest, especially if you compare her with some sort of CC, right? Because it will be easier to use your passive and, of course, your ultimate, but more damage in your passive, and this might well encourage you just to go pure AP on Kai'Sa. So we're talking something like Nash's Tooth with Crown or Ludens, and we've mentioned this in a previous video, our builds video, so definitely go check that out to know everything. But Kai'Sa will be broken. They're the other champion who randomly received buffs in 12.19 or will receive buffs. This is Twitch. Now, I don't know why, because Twitch does so well in solo queue, but the AP version of Twitch is getting buffed, and honestly don't really know why. Attack damage Twitch might do better, so with something like Kraken Slayer, Bork, yes, you shred your opponents more, but AP Twitch still does very well, especially especially in lower elos, because people, well, they just don't have, I guess, the map awareness maybe to realize a Twitch has gone missing from the bot lane. He pops up in the mid or top lane or at a jungle fight, maybe at a Rift Herald, something like this, and just cleans house. And because of the extra AP and scaling he will have in 12-19, if these changes go through, he will be unstoppable. Now, as far as underrated champions go, we just have one, this being Yasuo. Does so well against those top champions, so if we think about Misfortune, if we think about Kai'Sa, he can block so many things, even Draven, your wind wall, will cancel out his axes. So seriously consider picking Yas, if he's not already picked and banned, in your games to counter those champs. Now, one champion who did get buffed in 12-18, this was Ashe, right? So the attack speed in your Q went up, but honestly, didn't really change anything. Ashe is still a very solid champion though, so don't get me wrong, but she's not at that elite level. Just make sure, once again, guys, you don't pick Ryze in any of these roles. Now, last but certainly not least, we have the support role, and because of the Blitzcrank buffs in 12-19, these are going to make him broken if he isn't already. And alongside Blitzcrank, we have Janna, Renata, Zyra, nothing really changing from last patch. And in S tier, you can see we have a new addition. So Thresh, for so many patches now, well, he was in C tier, right? He's now moved up to S tier because of the changes in 12-18. So the fact you've got more HP now, so a bit more scaling, you're a bit tankier and harder to kill, and because your Flay is dealing a lot of damage, so the base damage went up heaps, this has actually made Thresh a champion again. Even if you're not good on him, you can definitely play him and make him work because of that extra damage and extra tankiness you will have. Now, as far as underrated supports go, well, Set, I still think he's a really good support, especially into engages. So if you see Leona, Nautilus, someone like this, picking Set because you love people who jump into you, because you just press your face breaker, which has a 70% slow now, those enemy champions, especially if you're running Glacial, because it will hit the AD carry as well, they're going to find it very hard to escape. Now, other champions worth mentioning, Rakan, you can see in A tier because of the buffs. By going Shurelya's, yes, you get a little bit of AP from this, so this gets translated more into your kit, which is kind of nice. That's why he's moved up. And in B tier, we can see that Lulu has dropped all the way down. She's really fallen from grace, so all you Lulu mains out there, unfortunately, not as strong as she once was. And we do have a bit of a surprise inclusion, guys, in the C tier, this being Nasus. Now, I said in our underrated champions video for 12-18, Nasus, well, he's going to be low-key broken. Well, I think at the moment, and in 12-19 as well, Nasus as a support, he will be good. But the reason he's in C tier is because, well, people just pick him regardless of who the enemy bot lane is. You want to be picking Nasus, guys, in specific games. So in Champ Select, if you see the enemy AD carry as someone who relies on a lot of movement speed, so they might be a Kalista, they could be someone like a Zeri, right? Using your W, because of the extra attack speed slow you now have because of the buffs, it will cripple them even more. The ultimate buff doesn't really change that much, but even if we think about the sustain nurse, right? Your poke in lane with Comet and Scorch and putting a few points in your E in the early game, this will stick with the enemy champions. They are going to feel your poke. So do be careful of Susan as a support as well. So those are the tier list, guys, for 12-19. Any questions, any comments, let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, if you did enjoy the video, please remember to leave a like down below. Until our next season 12 upload, this has been a peace.